We're dealing with foundation course as we have completed 2 modules of economics. We have completed macroeconomic introductory module as well as we have completed Keynesian economics. So now we are coming to module number 2. What is module number 2? That is dealing with disaster. 1 minute. I hope you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So FC module 2 is dealing with environmental concern. Okay, dealing with the environmental concern. So what is environmental concern and how to deal with that? That's what we are discussing. That is discussing the meaning and characteristics of disaster. First we are starting with सबसे बड़ा challenging environmental concern is disaster. Okay, so how to deal with the disaster? That's what we are going to discuss now. Disaster is not an ordinary term at all. Remember, it is a grave occurrence having ruinous effect. Grave means serious. So it is not a time passing event. 5-10 minute ka nahi hai. Occurrence event. Okay. Then ruinous result. Ruinous means very dangerous. Okay, so the results what we are having because of the disaster, that's very dangerous. And it is a very serious event. This COVID-19, we will call it as a pandemic. It is a disaster, but not the extent of, the real term of the disaster demands. It is a pandemic. What do you mean by pandemic? It affects number of countries or it affects the globe. That we call it as pandemic. Okay, there are 2 disasters. One is man-made, other is natural. Okay, disaster to 2 type hai. One is the natural disaster, I am starting from second. Other is man-made. What is natural disaster? Which is decided by nature. You and myself cannot stop it. When human beings are attacking the nature, nature also counterattacks. That is in the form of disaster. Second one is man-made. What is man-made? Man-made disaster is created by man. Human beings themselves are responsible. Man-made disaster, I'm always dealing with natural disaster. Natural disaster ka example dekho, storm, cyclone, tsunami, hurricane, you will explain. Okay. Then tidal waves, all these are the natural disaster. But nature अपने आप create करता है. Storm is an example, cyclone, tsunami तो आपको मालूम है. I will show you the video also. पानी एकदम, waves एकदम high level में जाकर, it is consuming even the entire building. That is known as tsunami. Hurricane, it's also a type of cyclone. It's a type of wind. Okay. Water related disasters are either it is flood or it is drought. Kabhi zyada pani, kabhi pani hi nahi. Both are the disaster. Then land related kya hai? Earthquake, avalanche, landslides. Earthquake aapko malum hai. Avalanche kya hai? Bada ice. Uska itna bada tukda girta hai that will create a catastrophe. That is the meaning of avalanche. I will show you the YouTube video. The big ice bars, it will fall and the disaster will be too much. Then next is landslide. Landslide also aapko malum hai. Especially we say that, Konkan railway. आपने सुना होगा कोंकण रेलवे. One second, children. So what we were talking is landslide. I told you landslide के बारे में you have to remember, especially about Konkan. Why this is creating problem? I'm really getting irritated. I am it's not. I'm talking about Konkan Railway, which is connecting between Maharashtra and Kerala. Konkan Railway में landslide is very common. क्या है children landslide? बड़ा बड़ा mountain अपने आप गिरता है, and it is so severe that it will create deaths of so many people. That is why during this rainy season, Konkan Railway many times stop the train, or they are putting lot of nets in order to reduce the impact of it. So there are two types of disaster. One is a natural disaster, other is the man-made disaster. So what is natural disaster? Natural disaster is created by nature. Storm होने दो, earthquake होने दो, cyclone होने दो. That is known as natural disaster. Okay. Then it can be water related, it can be land related, no issue. Okay, now what is man-made disaster? It is accident. That is human beings are creating. Forest fire. Children, it is not forest fire, it is forest fire. Okay, war, deforestation, pollution is sub human beings have created. These are all created by human beings. So what are the example? Forest fire. India में we are not familiar. अभी भी आपको मालूम है right now Canada में there is a place known as Southern Columbia, Canada में. It is near to Washington in US. वो जगह में इतना गर्मी है, अभी इतना गर्मी है, लास्ट 40-50 years में इतना गर्मी नहीं हुआ है. गर्मी इतना ज्यादा होने की वजह से क्या होता है, उधर का जो ट्रीज और उसका ब्रांचेस, they are touching each other and they get into fire. If fire इतना बड़ा है, people will have to vacate their place. That much big it is. That is known as forest fire. We cannot even imagine. Last 2 years में Australia में there was a forest fire which lasted for 45 days. And the loss is unimaginable. Then you can imagine deforestation, that India is famous, cutting down the trees. And that is leading to disaster. Kerala is facing this. Always there is a flood. आपको मालूम है Kerala flood. 2 साल पहले का Kerala flood, it was, unforgettable. Even now also, on and off when the flood comes in Kerala, because they are not maintaining the environment properly. So there are two types of disaster, children. One is man-made, other is natural disaster. What I'm going to show you is what is the meaning of, or what are the examples of sudden disaster. That's what we are going to show you. Look, this is the forest fire of California. The entire stretch is on fire, and the fire waves will go so high, the sky become red color. Sky will become totally red, and people will have to vacate the houses. And how it is happening? This is the last year's California forest fire. During summer, due to the extreme heat, branches of the tree brush against each other. एक branch दूसरे branch के ऊपर cross करके, that is creating fire. And the destruction is beyond the imagination. Please understand about the forest fire. Now I am going to show you about avalanche. What is avalanche? देखने के बाद मेरे को बोलने का है avalanche क्या है करके. First you see that. I hope you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The ice is falling. देखो आप. It is the ice, the rock of ice. चारों साइड में जो देखते हैं, that is the rocks of ice. See that?
मैम स्क्रीन नहीं शो हो रही है.
Screen नहीं है. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See how the ice is falling. India, we don't have it. These are all happening in the cold regions. देखो ऊपर से देखो अब how it is falling. 1 minute, 1 minute. 1 second, my finger has touched. 1 second. Give me 1 minute time. Okay. You see that how the highest rocks are falling. Continuously it is falling. See that? Big rocks of ice will fall. देखिए आप. See. This type of heavy ice falls, it will create such a huge amount of loss. Human loss, vehicle loss. The entire thing is full of ice. You can see all this on top. So the big rocks are falling down along with heavy rain. It is avalanche. You see that, how it is falling.
Yes, ma'am.
See, the big rock is falling. So you have seen that how difficult, it was especially to live in the cold countries where. One second. So life becomes very miserable. That is what is happening in the Western countries. India mein avalanche is comparatively less because only in Himalayan regions we are having this level of ice. That is the reason. Then what are the characteristics of disaster? First one, it is borderless. What do you mean by that? You cannot say that disaster will come only to Hindu country. Disaster will come only to Muslim countries. No, it is borderless. It will go to any country. It got absolutely no boundary and no cross border. Okay. It affects all the human beings and other living beings. So thus even you can take the case of COVID pandemic. It is also borderless. ऐसा नहीं है कि एक ही कंट्री में जाएगा, एक ही कॉन्टिनेंट में जाएगा, सब जगह में जाता है. It affects all the human beings as well as the non-living beings. Single disaster may affect many countries. Right now, we can take the example of COVID. Another, I hope you maybe, at least you might have heard about it. Tsunami on 26 December 2004. Children, what is tsunami? Tsunami में क्या होता है बच्चे लोग? The water tides are, going so high. मैं आपको दिखाएगा tsunami. Which all countries got affected? India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand. All the Asian countries got so badly affected in 2004. Just wait for 1 minute. I will show you that. Give me 1 minute time. I'm going to show you that tsunami. एक बार देखने पर क्लियर आइडिया मिल जाएगा. Tsunami. Okay, let us see. We should see this.
This video finally my friends tried to put me down and stop me from videoing. I said I'm going to do a revenge of the last video got 1 million likes and it did in less than a day. Can they stop me? I survived. This is it. Minecraft man.
They are taking from the aeroplane. They are taking from the aeroplane. One minute, doubtful whether this is giving the correct picture. 1 minute, children. Give me 1 minute time. Just, I want exactly. Okay, I think this should give you good pictures. Can you see the screen?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now I think you can see the screen.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See the water. Water waves will be, the sea waves will be high, so high we cannot even imagine. You can see the destruction over there. See how it is just taking away the ship itself. You see that? See that? The water is coming so fast.
Yes.
We are coming back. Okay,
Huge
children.
loss to life and property.
Yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute. So we were discussing regarding the effect of tsunami. Where it has gone. I'm sharing the screen. Give me 1 minute time because I have to switch over from video to the screen. Okay. So these disasters are something which human history never forgets. Because the extent of disaster or the extent of destruction, what is created by avalanche, हमने देखा how the big ice cubes are falling. It will wreck even the ship. That much big it is. Okay, then the earthquake. We are very well aware. Bhuj ka earthquake hone do. There are so many earthquakes that we have seen. You can say even the recent times. Landslides, tsunami, all these are, it has affected the mankind so badly. As the time goes in the coming, students, that they will be studying even about COVID. Now we were discussing the characteristics of disaster, borderless, I told you. Then what about the loss? Okay, look here. Many disasters affect so many people and many die also. Gujarat earthquake of 2001, government themselves say 20,000 people died. So you can understand government figure is 20,000 means the real death will be multiples of it. So no disaster will be in a small magnitude. Tsunami of 2004 took the life of 2.3 lakh people, see here, and it has affected 14 countries. Okay, the water tides or the tidal level goes so high, it takes away so many lives and even so many vehicles it takes away, or even the buildings. 2.3 lakh people died, and so many animals die, property loss, offices, factories. It's a severe loss. Then we are aware that along with disaster, there will be communication failure. Communication failure means the people who are affected by disaster, they may not be able to contact the other person because communication gets total failure. That is the reason. Why the mobile becomes, mobile gets jammed. What is the reason? Because there is an overuse of frequency. Frequency ka zyada use hai, so mobile get jammed. Nobody can use the mobile. Then you are aware battery failure. Because ours, very sorry to state, you take the case of a building collapse. Mumbai mein to what you are reading or what you are seeing, building collapse ho jata hai. So many people, they get caught up. Building ke andar फंस जाता है. After certain hours, mobile ka battery खत्म हो जाता है. So they cannot even contact the people who are outside. Then incorrect information. What is incorrect information? Especially nowadays, because of the social media, any information will come, very difficult to identify whether it is correct or wrong. Just take a YouTube video and put it. Sometimes don't unmute yourself, I will directly remove you. The whole class is getting disturbed. Then misunderstanding the information. I told you there is another one. We hear only half. Remaining things we are understanding by ourselves. So that is also creating problem. During the period of disaster, these are all very common. Communication become total failure. Then another point is extent is uncertain. During disaster, nobody knows what people are not aware, or nobody can calculate the extent of disaster. कितना बड़ा लेवल पर डिसास्टर हुआ है वो समझ में आना ही मुश्किल है. Area slightly affected create great noise. आपको मालूम है पहला तो मीडिया में ऐसा थम्बिंग नॉइस में आएगा. Those areas which are less affected, what is the reason? They are having access with a mobile phone, so they will make the videos and they will send it, and it will attract viral attention. And as the disaster becomes severe, worst hit are those people who are totally affected by the communication failure. When there is a communication failure, they are not able to get in contact with the outside world. They are the people who are really affected. Please understand that. Many times proper information available hai nahi. When this tsunami of 2004 has happened, we know that period par we were depending more on the newspaper. It was no doubt that social media was there, but it was not active as now. So what information we are getting via TV and via newspaper, that was the only source. Any time during the disaster, proper or correct information may not be available. Bombay bomb blast. Nobody wants to talk about it. Series of bomb blast in Mumbai. Okay, that is a man-made disaster. But we know that bomb has been blasted in the train. But nobody knows exactly how many people died. Very difficult to get, first-hand information on the spot. It is difficult to identify which roads are unaffected, which are totally lost. So we cannot understand that, how to reach the disaster spot. The disaster is so big, it is very difficult to reach the spot. You do not know which roads are active, which roads are totally blocked, which roads are totally gone, you cannot identify. सो उधर पहुंचना कैसा पहुंचेगा कैसा मदद करेगा ये समझ में आने के लिए बहुत टाइम जाएगा. That is the feature of disaster. Then another feature is we were discussing regarding misinformation. Most of the times wrong information is passed during disaster. You are aware, social media creates more harm than good. During crucial hours, instead of proper information, wrong or incorrect information creates more problem. आपको मालूम है correct information मिलने पर at least authorities can do something. When wrong information is provided, it will affect the rescue operations. When the rescue operations are affected, more and more destruction will happen. Emergency services are affected. You are aware. What are the emergency services? Water supply is affected, electricity is affected, fire service, ambulance service, everything is getting affected, which are very essential. Hospitals are more affected, that also you are aware. आपने देखा COVID का period पर how the hospitals are more crowded. There was stringent shortage of oxygen cylinder. There was no ICU beds. You are aware that because आपने देखा, आपने पढ़ा.
Yes, ma'am.
This type of things are very common during disaster. Those who are lucky, they will escape. Those who are unlucky, naturally they cannot survive the disaster. Sometimes what happens, hospital itself are destroyed. There is another problem. एक bomb blast हो गया, hospital itself will be destroyed. Flood हो गया, hospital का सब कुछ पानी में गया होगा. So staff is unable to get out from the hospital or unable to reach the hospital. ऐसा भी हुआ है. मुंबई में वो flood हुआ था, आपको याद होगा, मेथी river का वो flood. So when that flood has happened, many staff in the hospital, they got stuck in the hospital. Because the rule of the hospital is that only when your substitute comes, you can leave the place. Otherwise, the patients will be affected. So the bad part is that people could not come out of the hospital because others could not reach the hospital. That was the problem. Okay, then Severe flood has happened in Mumbai when the water level began to rise so high, 5 feet, 6 feet high. The nurse and the doctor cannot reach the hospital. Similarly, nurse and the doctor in the hospital cannot go home. They got stuck up. 3-4 days, same people were doing the duty. Neither they were getting proper food or the rest. Rescue operations become difficult when we will add more problem during the time of disaster. Hey, dekho, children, what is the meaning of rescue operations? BMC ka, there is a department that is known as disaster management. BMC में एक department है disaster management department. वही लोग they are only dealing with the rescue operation. Rescue मतलब मदद करने का. How to start the work, proper planning is required. How many people are available, how to distribute the people, then which all area people will go, and what type of operations are required, rescue operations. These are all very challenging jobs. And sometimes in the case of earthquakes and all, what will happen? After some interval, again the earthquake will repeat. After some interval, again the earthquake will repeat. So nobody knows, can they start the relief operations? Because जो relief operations के लिए गया है वही लोग मर जाएगा. Because frequently earthquake will happen. Similarly, flood. आपको मालूम नहीं ये पानी कितना लेवल तक जाएगा. So it is very difficult to decide and take an action. Disaster never say exactly the same. That is another. What you are reading in the newspaper, you take the case of COVID. First we talk about, the COVID-19 pandemic virus. After that, second variant has come. Now the world is talking about third variant, because it is not same in every country. It is not same in every time. So very difficult to control the disaster. And the responses to disaster will be constantly changing. How humans are responding to disaster, how non-human beings are responding to disaster. Everything becomes really different. It's difficult to predict. Sometimes the recovery may take a longer period. Recovery part is very, very crucial. Things may last longer than one expects. Nobody can predict when the situation will improve. आप अभी का ही situation पूछो ना. Last year तक you used to ask me, Madam, when the college will reopen. This year you are not asking, because you know that nobody can give a correct answer. Because
Yes, ma'am.
disasters are such that nobody can tell when the situation will improve. However, your science is improved or your computer is advanced, नहीं तो कोई ज्योतिषी होने दो, किसको भी बोल नहीं सकता है, because we cannot play with nature. Please remember.
Yes, ma'am.
Disaster will last for weeks, months, or even years. And the recovery, it is depending upon the extent of destruction. जितना तक destruction हो गया, वो मालूम होने के बाद ही recovery चालू कर सकता है. मीडिया में आना, घर में बैठकर बात करना वो easy है. लेकिन those who are in the front, those who are in the disaster, we will call as the front line workers. कौन कौन है front line workers? We call them as front line warriors. They are fighting a war. That is why they are known as warriors. So who are these frontline warriors? Doctors, nurses, disaster management team, NGOs, they are all working. So very difficult to decide, how to start the recovery process. Okay, children. Okay, I will just
Yes, ma'am.